Guys, I got a video to show you here on how to get the illumination fixed on switches that you'd find in your GM or Chevrolet trucks. This is one type of switch I'll show you how to do today. This one's unique to the utility trucks like the Tahoe, the Suburban, and the Yukon for the rear wiper and washer on those that have a hatchback. This type of switch is actually three flavors of the same design switch. This one's off the utilities for the rear hatch. This exact same type of switch is going to be on the pickups for the cargo light, and it's also going to appear on pickups that have special RPO ordering for auxiliary lights. So you'll have an aux light that's going to sit like right next to the headlight switch on those vehicles that have that. It's pretty rare, but those that have it, it's this exact same switch. So let me show you how to get these guys open. So this particular one, there's clips that are underneath these. So these tabs here are what holds the switch into the bezel housing of the dash. And there's the little tabs that you can see. Hopefully you can see under here if we get close enough. I don't know if there's enough light or what, but they're there. You'll see them when you have the switch in your hand on both sides. And the easiest way I've found to get these kind of guys open, take like a spudger type tool like this. Maybe you can use a knife or something, but basically what I'm trying to do is you're going to get yourself a handful of small screwdrivers, and you're going to get them wedged in each corner. So I got these two, and that's what that's going to do is it's going to pop the clips that we were talking about on this side, and then we're going to do the exact same thing on the opposite side. I'm just using this to kind of help these get in there, get them started anyway. Of course, this guy is going to be a pain, so let me see if I can get the smaller one in here. This one, the larger one over here. It's a lot easier than it looks, I guess I'll say. This guy, yeah, so it's pretty involved, I guess, to get it all out at once. There we go. All right. So once that pops out, that's what we're after, is this bulb. And the bulb that lights up, whether it says rear hatch or aux light or cargo lamp, whatever it is, it's the same guy. And he's wrapped around these two posts and then soldered. So we're going to have to desolder and unwrap them and then remove them. And then inside here is the actual switch piece. We actually dislodged it a little bit, so as you move the switch, you can see this guy kind of rocks back and forth. We just want to put this guy back on where he goes. So this is actually backwards. There we go. So it just moves back and forth as it goes back. So just don't lose that piece when you do that. So that's how we get that type open. This type's a little easier. This guy's very easy to see, the clips, and we just need to lift them up on each side. So on this type, I just get a spudger under there with a screwdriver on one side, flip over. On this side, it's kind of split. So all we're going to try and do is clear the tabs. Once we clear the tabs, it's the same deal. It comes apart. And this one has actually two bulbs in it. And then very similarly, there's some electronic pieces in there, although in this one, what moves is the wiper switch. So we just don't want to lose any of that. All right, so now what we're going to do is I'm going to get something that I can use to hold these guys while I desolder and unwrap this. So we'll come back in a minute after I get a little jig set up. After looking at this guy a little bit, I decided what I might do is I might just cut the old bulb off. Now if we can get you to see this, I don't know how clear it'll come out. I used a magnifying glass there. And I guess it won't. I guess when you look at this, what you'll see is this wire is wrapped around here a couple of times. It's just going to take a long time to desolder it. Don't necessarily need to show that on the video. So I'm going to just clip these guys, because what that'll do is it'll give me a piece of wire that I can hang on to unwrap it while I desolder. on this side too and clip that. That'll get the bulb out. So the bulb itself looks like it's a bulb with a cover on it, because there's like a blue tint. This is off of Chevrolet. So Chevrolets had kind of like a soft blue tint to them, and for this particular switch, this is how they did it. Just trying to get this guy off without damaging him. There we go. Alright, so it's got, I don't know, it looks like it's a little bit smaller than a 3mm. I think I have a bulb for that though. And then I presume that's going to be the same size over here. We'll do the same thing on this guy. So we'll go ahead and clip this lead. We'll clip this lead. And there's a couple of leads in the middle here. Okay, there's one, there's two. Same kind of deal. We'll pull these off. Just trying to go real gentle with them, because you know they've been sitting there for a long time. I don't know if they're going to be fragile or not from the heat after so many decades. Looks like they're okay. All right, so I have some bulbs that I think will work for this. Let's take a look. Bear with me just a moment, folks. Got a couple of different sizes here. This size looks like he's a little too small. I think I got another size. Looks too big. Not sure though. Okay, let me find some bulbs, folks, and we'll come back. Sorry about that. I've got like all kinds of different bulbs here for different projects, and they're different sizes. So one's a little bit smaller than the other, but this one looks like it's our guy. Looks like an exact match for these original GM type bulbs. So I've got to get 3 of them here. That'll put us in business. And then they'll get these little covers put on them, just like original. Whoops. Just go all the way down and bottom out. And then we'll just desolder what's left of the old leads that I cut off, and then we'll be able to reinsert these new bulbs, and we'll be back in business, and we'll hook it up to a little 13 volt power source, and we'll see how it looks. Alright, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get my soldering gun out. I'm going to remove what's left of these leads I cut off. I'm not necessarily going to show that to you. Not anything really exciting to see on that. And then we'll put this new bulb in here, and we'll wrap it back around and solder it on, and we'll give it a test. Guys, I've got this. I've got these solder posts cleaned up, and I'm ready to put the bulbs back in, the replacement bulbs. On this particular one, it's just a kind of a wrap around. There's no holes or anything. So you'll see there's a couple of slots on the side on each of these, and then there's a post in the middle where this guy sits. So what I do is just bend these wires out a little bit and slide him down to where he's supposed to sit, and then just hold it with your finger, and again, you know, keep that blue cover on there. And then I'm going to take a pair of tweezers, and I'm just going to loop this guy around. It doesn't have to be super tight. Because we're going to solder it. So when I took it off, that's basically what it was. It was just wrapped around one time and then carried over to the side so they could easily cut the excess off. So I'm going to do the same thing that the supplier to GM originally did here. If you don't have a pair of tweezers, this is going to be really hard because it's really too small for long nose pliers, unless they had a real fine tip to them. Alright, kind of messed that guy up there, but I think we can salvage him. Just bear Bear with me a moment. Alright, there we go. Alright, and then all I'm going to do on this guy, I'm going to heat my soldering iron up here, and I'm just going to tap it in here and remelt the solder was there. Now for this guy, I did one of them already because he's a little harder. What you'll find out on this type of switch is the center post has a hole in it, and the outer post has a notch in it. And what you'll do on that guy, same thing, we'll bend it out a little bit, and then again there's a cross member in the top here that keeps it from going in all the way. There's a slot for the lead on this side, and then on this side there's one towards the front. So we'll just slide this guy in like this. Take the tweezers, put it through the notch, wrap it around, and over the front again. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that you don't have to do exactly this way, but I'm just trying to get it somewhat the way it was. Alright, and then on this guy, the way I found it was I found that they look like they ran it through the hole from the front side here, from the front lane way that you're seeing on the camera. And then after going through the hole in the solder tab, grab it here. Tweezers are just probably not the best for grabbing things. There we go. Alright. I found what they did was they just ran it back to the front like this. Alright, so same deal. I'm going to just melt the solder on these guys, and that should finish this. I don't think I'm going to put any extra solder on because I didn't take any of it off in the first place. And since it is a post, it's going to take some high heat to get it going. In fact, I think I set mine back down when I was doing something else earlier. And I put this back up to 450 Celsius. Just want to melt the solder that's on this post. It's like a big heat sink, unfortunately, because it's going directly to the switch. There we go. Alright, just want to then touch the wire. That's all we have to do. Do a little bit on the other side too, just to make sure. Alright, and then we would clip off the extra lead there. Let me show you something else too. I'm going to show you this stuff illuminated, so I'm going to run power on this. Sorry about that. I got the power supply hooked up, and I also corrected that I obviously didn't have this on the right connection, so let me try this again to show you what this guy looks like. So I'm going to crank this up to, this is 12 volts, 13, basically what the alternator would be going with, 14.2. Turn some of the lights out here so you can see it's not a super bright light when you get this done, but that's what it was originally. And you know, when you put this guy back in, obviously I can't put the cover back on and do this test, but the center leads would be the negative, and then the outer leads would be the positive, and that's where you can tell everything's working before you put it back together. And again, the only thing left to do here is to solder up these two guys, clip off the excess, and finish soldering here, and snap it back together and reinstall. Alright, I've got these guys remelted the solder. I'm going to clip off these excess leads like I mentioned earlier. Got this guy as well. Same deal. Just make sure when you're in here with the soldering that you don't touch it to the plastic and melt anything. Alright, so basically put it back together. It's just to reverse what we did to take it apart. Just make sure you hear a snap. This guy's done. Remember also, make sure you haven't moved the switch around. Similar deal here. You only go in one way. Snap here as well on both sides. All right, so both those switches are done. The last thing I wanted to show you, and then they're ready to reinstall now. The last thing I wanted to show you was, I'm going to take my tool here and show you the original bulbs. So these are the ones we originally took out. I told you, you can look for these things like a grain of wheat bulb. This is actually a 3mm diameter tubular bulb, basically roughly equal to an eighth of an inch. I think the official name would be like a T8, excuse me, a T1. Gosh, each eighth of an inch would be a number. But 3mm in that direction, and the original ones in this direction, like they're about 5. Let me see for sure. Yeah, 6.5. I've never really seen ones this size to pick up. The ones I used were closer to 8, and they fit just fine. And that's probably what you're going to end up having to use yourself. But I hope this video helped you out in getting either your switches lighting up again or changing the color scheme to match how you've customized your truck. And if you find that you're having some problems with that, you want to leave a question down below. I'll try to answer it if it's something I'm familiar with. Otherwise, hope it helped you out. Please like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.